Hi peeps, my name's Mark and today's job is doing a bit of plasterboarding. So behind me is my job of today, which is starting to board out the roof space plus the room. So my top half of this older part of the cottage is built into the roof space, so you can see the angled ceiling. So as you can see behind me, I started doing some boarding. So I've added some Kingspan insulation, a bit of vapor barrier waterproofer to stop any extra dripping or anything coming through. This is done on the warm side, so obviously it doesn't be affected by condensation, so I put that in. I've done some of the ceilings again, real nightmare because this building is wonky as a three-legged donkey, so it's a bit of a nightmare. Like the walls, as you can see, I've done a bit of rendering because I wanted to have a bit of a practice, because I don't really do rendering in my past career, so I thought I'd give it a go. So I flattened off the wall because the bricks are quite soft, the faces were crumbling quite a lot. When I hacked off all the old plaster, it kind of crumbled away. So it strengthened the wall a bit, and also it gave me a better flat surface to batten out. So I'm going to batten out the walls, plasterboard it, do a bit of insulation, plasterboard the ceiling. So that's my job today, trying to beautify the place, and then hopefully it'll be all plastered, skimmed off, and it'll start to look like a proper room. Anyway, I'll quickly show you one I've done already, which is in the other side. I'll flip round and I'll show you. So there you go. As you can see, this is one room I've done already. I've got to leave a bit of a hole because there's still some wiring to do. But as you can see, you know, I've covered it up with plasterboard, so it's starting to look a bit better. And then that will all be skimmed or tape and jointed and wallpapered, lined, whatever I'm going to do. I'm not sure yet. So that kind of gives you an idea on what I'm planning to do on the middle room, which I'm calling the hallway because it's got the stairs in. And that's the kind of the theme I'm going to be doing throughout the whole building. I'm just giving it a second skin inside. It just kind of helps me when we're rewiring, because you haven't got to hack out the plaster. Also, I can add a little bit more extra insulation internally. It does lose a bit of space, but we're only talking just over half, no, sorry, not half an inch. I was going to say over 1.5 inches on each wall, which, to be honest, is no real biggie. So that's what I'm planning to do throughout the whole building, because the walls are quite bad, and yeah, and I just want that more modern, fresher look. So that's what I'm doing. It's a bit of a lengthy job, a lot of screw drilling and fixing battens to walls, but I think it'd be worth it in the end. Anyway, this my job today, is to carry on do that. I've got lots to do, so I'll see you on the other side. Well, as I said, this is me starting the process of battening out the walls and plasterboarding. Here I'm just piecing in a piece of plasterboard. It's very tricky, so what I'm using is what they call a rasp, so it takes off small amounts of plasterboard. Now, just to try and get it to fit as best as you can, but don't over worry about gaps. You know, when it gets plastered, skimmed, you know, most of them will be covered up, so it's not always a bad thing. As you can see, you know, it's always tricky working on your own, so it's handy to use what I call a dead leg, or a prop, as some people call it. You know, I've only got 2 pair of hands, so it can be quite difficult while you're working on your own. So these dead legs are really useful. So I'm just getting the board into place, and then I'm going to drywall fix it in. As you can see, pretty straightforward process. And then, as I said, you know, I'll tape the joints, and then they'll be either skimmed or filled. So I'm going to start the battening process. I'm using 2x1 or 25mm by 50mm timber battening. Put my head plate in, and then I put my uprights. Normally I put my uprights at 400 centres. You know, if you stick with that, you shouldn't have any problems. So stick around, you'll see me go through the process, add a few tips along the way to make it easier, and I hope you like my video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. one more. Ta-da! Right everyone, back again. Carrying on with the plasterboarding, battening and bit of insulation. So I'm going to tackle this bit on the roof side. So as you can see again, I've got the old Kingspan in the pitch side of the roof. Bit of lining paper, which is waterproof by the way. So yeah, so I'm going to board out that. I don't know if I'm going to board a bit of ceiling because as again we've still got to run some cables in, so I don't want to make access difficult. I'm going to board out this wall. So if it's something that you want to do, you know, boarding out a wall is a really great way of insulating, soundproofing and making a really dodgy wall look nice. So I'll show you how I do it. I'll give you a tip on screwing it to the wall, which makes it easier. And then boarding on top, plasterboarding on top, and then as I said, it'll either be tape and jointed, which is, you know, tape over the joints, and then you fill the joints, sand it, and then you paint it or you line it or wallpaper it even. So I'll show you how that is after I've got the boarding up. So I'm going to crack on with that today. It's a bit tricky and it does slow you down, and I think what makes it worse is I've got a big hole here. So this is where the stairwell is, so I've got a bridge across there, so I'll have to work that one out. But anyway, so I'm going to crack on. Keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing if you haven't, as I'm going through this process of renovating this old cottage, this wonky dodgy little cottage, and trying to make it look nice and livable. So keep watching. Right, I'm just going to show you how to plasterboard. This is awkward and you need about 8 hands. So again, I showed in a different video the use of these dead legs. I know you can buy some fancy machinery and stuff like that, but I don't think it would work here. So again, I've knocked up some what I call, or what I've always known as dead legs. So I've got a couple of these, a little bit awkward on an angled ceiling, but it will work the same. So it'll give you a bit of a support. So I've got 2 of these and I'm going to try and use these. So this will be quite interesting because I'm working over the stairwell, but here we go. So another little tip, again, I'm full of tips and tricks. So scribing in, so again I explained these walls are not straight by any means, and then you're working with angled ceilings, a whole plethora of different angles. So anyway, to scribe into the corners, which is over in that corner, I've got myself one of these. So you can get these, this is a big version of the one you use at school. So basically you can set angles at quite large sizes. So get yourself one of these, you know, brilliant for scribing in. None of these fancy gadgets like, you know, the old good protractor is a protractor or compass? No, it's not compass. I can't remember now. Oh, my brain's full of stuff I shouldn't know. Right, so I'm going to set this up and I'm going to cut the first edge. And then I'm going to cut the other edge because you can't work with measurements and hold a bit of plasterboard up at the same time. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, as a little bit of a tip, get yourself one of these and you can scribe with it in. So here we go, and I'll show you. So what I'm going to do in this corner, so as you can see in this corner, I've got a bit of a gap at the bottom and then it's touching at the top. So I want to scribe this in and I'm going to use one of these. So you set a size that's comfortable to cut. So obviously you set it which is larger than your opening at the bottom, which is showing the gap. So you overdo it, because plasterboard's a bit funny when you take off little amounts. So it's better to just overdo it. So set that, tighten this up so it doesn't move. And then simply just follow the contours of the wall. And it will give you the perfect shape to that wall. This can be used in any kind of method, you know, for timber, paneling, anything like that. Get yourself one of these, a nice sharp pencil and a sharp point, and scribe along, and you'll be looking perfect scriber. If you're ever battening out a wall or sticking a bit of wood to a wall, little bit of a tip to make life easier. It's probably a simple little tip, but if you've got, obviously if you're going into some real hard bricks, get yourself an SDS drill, which is really helpful. Right, so you're trying to fix your batten into the wall. And normally you drill a hole into the wall, then you put a plug into it, and then you put a screw into it. And it's a similar process, but it's an all-in-one process. So hold your batten against the wall, get your drill, and drill right through with your batten, right through your batten. So take a drill bit just smaller than your plug. So these red plugs are really good. So get a drill bit that's smaller, get a long one, get a long drill bit, you don't want it too short, this is what makes it easier. So get yourself a nice long drill bit, drill a hole as I've just done, and then whack in your plug. So you've drilled right through, and the reason of the long bit is you want to get through the bit of timber and get right through to the wall. And obviously you've got to make sure that you're drilling longer than your screw that you've got. So hold your batten against the wall, drill through, and then whack your raw plug into the piece of wood. Take your screw and your drill, your screwdriver drill, and just give it a couple of turns so it bites into the raw plug. Not all the way and not too much, but it just bites in and it holds it. And the reason for this is, is you tap it through until you feel a little bit of resistance once the raw plug's into the wall, and as you can feel, it's in there. And what that does is, if you do a couple of twists just before you bang it in, that will hold on to the raw plug, and if you drill too far, it won't lose the raw plug into the back and it's less likely to spin. So you've done that, you can feel it's a bit old, and then you just simply take your drill and straight through. So what I'm trying to say is there's no point drilling holes, taking the batten off, drilling into the wall, putting your plug in and then trying to find a hole with the screw. You know, you've always got that thing where you're trying to find the hole behind it. And especially when you've got multiple holes to drill, this way, this method is a lot easier. So put your batten in, drill right through with a nice long bit, and you'll be good. And it's a really simple process, and as you can see, solid. Right, I'm going to crack on and I'm going to drill all these battens to the wall.